Okay, so last video was in Colinas, which is the last city in Maranhão, that state, and heading south. The next day was going to be like the longest drive. I don't know about on the trip, but like super long. So it was like, I don't know, almost 8 hours of driving, almost 600K, and it was to Bom Jesus, Bom Jesus, which is in the state of Piauí. And on route, I actually had to hit Highway Brazil 230, and this highway is called the Trans Amazonias Highway or something like this. I'd read about it a lot because when I had originally sort of been looking at the route through Brazil, this was one of the main ones you have to take in the north to kind of cross east to west. But the problem with this highway is early on it's paved, but as it gets up north it becomes completely clay. And it's one of those highways in Brazil, it's like super famous for people who travel all over the world in big vehicles, as like rigs will just get like buried up way past the wheels in this red clay and can't get out. Like, so a car like mine, if there's any rain at all on this clay type of road, like you're pretty much screwed. So I avoided the 230 in my route planning, but on this section I actually had to hit a segment of it, but fortunately it was a paved section, so no problem. So yeah, getting to Bom Jesus was super cool. We had like great weather. There was this spot, a lookout, where you can see kind of the red clay over the valley below. It's not like a desert, but the clay is red. But there are some sections that are pretty dry. So anyway, Bom Jesus was awesome. The hotel was on like one end of the town, sort of like a one-strip town with some offshoots. So I got to the hotel and then kind of wandered through the town. There's some like nice little hills that built into the town, some cool little churches and things like that. Just wandered around. There's like a water tower at one point. Anyway, Bom Jesus, like great vibe. Nice little city, beautiful weather, awesome stuff. Even though I was mainly wandering around at night, because like I say, up here, this latitude gets dark really quick, like maybe 6 o'clock or something like that. Although I was heading south, but still getting dark early. And then the next city, entering back into the state of Bahia, going with Salvador and all of that, but on the west side of the state, I was headed down to Barreiras, or Barreiras. It's similar to the name Barreirinhas, but without the inhas, so Barreiras, I guess you would say. Although Brazilian would just laugh at me for saying that. Anyway, this one, again, great weather. You can see some of the red clay. There's a video here where I'm driving down, and on either side of the road you can see like the red clay on either side. That's the kind of stuff I was avoiding by staying on paved road as opposed to being on the dirt road. I mean, when it's sunny it's fine, but when it's rainy, like, you're going to get stuck. You can't get through that stuff. So anyway, so I got to Barreiras, and man, I cannot pronounce that name at all. And yeah, it was a cool vibe there. I think I have a video from like the hotel, so you can see kind of in a valley. Nothing special, but whatever. And then to get downtown, I had to head across a bridge. And yeah, there was like, of course, like the churches or whatever that are interesting. There was like an art center, and there was also some random sort of like street art. This little Tin Man thing that I thought was pretty cool. So yeah, I was down there and headed back to the hotel. And then the next day, heading on to the state of Goiás, a little tiny town called Alvorada do Norte. And again, great weather. So now I've had great weather for like 4 or 5 days straight, and I was just like, yep, I'm in summer mode. Obviously, this is not the vacation part of my trip. I'm not near the ocean, and I'm more like get my car to Peru vibe focused. But yeah, weather was awesome, so I was like enjoying that a lot. Blue skies, sunny, hot, great stuff. No rain. So yeah, so I get to Alvorada do Norte, and like on the route, like more of the red sort of layout. But the city's like super small. Like the city's like tiny. So I was on this little, I was staying at a little sort of bed and breakfast near the river, which was odd because it almost seemed to have like a judo training center or some kind of training center for kids, like linked to the hotel. The bed and breakfast, and would be the family had like a dual business thing, I don't know. But anyway, so from there I left the hotel and kind of walked along the main strip, gorgeous weather, into like a little bit of the side streets, like where the town actually is. There's like a church or whatever. Of course, all those churches stand out to me, something that I like the look of. Not being a religious guy in a Christian or Catholic type way, but liking the way they look. And then kept wandering, and then like ended up sort of these like farmers' fields overlooking the city, with, like the purple skies and everything like that. Long grass. I think there was like a horse there, something nice, cool, like trees. So it was awesome. Definitely dug the vibe in that city. Tiny little thing. And then from there, I had to head to Brasilia. And my plan for Brasilia, like, I never wanted to stay in Brasilia more than like a day or two, even though it's a massive city. It's a super weird city, which I'll get to. I just didn't really have an interest in it, but I knew I needed to kind of get my car checked over before heading, you know, across the Andes or whatever to Peru and all that, and it had been quite a while since I checked my car. So I planned to get it checked in Brasilia, and I figured it would take a couple days to do it. So I ended up staying there for 3 days. But anyway, en route to Brasilia, the weather kind of changed from the beautiful sunny world that I had been into back to the world of gray. And there was really interesting, on the way to Brasilia, there was this stretch of highway where it was completely flat. The highway was completely flat, like fields. And then I entered into like this corridor, I swear, like coniferous trees, like this corridor of coniferous trees. It was like super long and straight, no turns, just straight for like the longest time. And it just felt really weird. Like I was like, where am I? Like how did I just go from Brazil back to like Europe or North America? It was very weird. But anyway, you come out of there, you kind of again feel like sort of like you're in Brazil, and you make a left down to Brasilia. And in Brasilia, I went straight to the shop where they're going to be working on my car, dropped it off there, and then jumped in the subway. They have a subway there, a pretty good one, and headed back to the central district where my hotel was. My hotel was like right in like the center of town. It was like this strange little hotel, Hotel Byblos, which I guess is a city in Lebanon. So I guess the people who owned this hotel were like Lebanese or something like that. But it's a strange little hotel, but it's super central. So I got there, and then the first day, fortunately it wasn't raining, but kind of gray. I headed north of my hotel. There's like this TV tower, and then there's like a fairground, and like some monuments to the people who had designed the city, then finishing off at the mall. Now the real weird thing about Brasilia, because as I was walking around, it felt like Edmonton or something like that, even though we're in Brazil. It just felt like super flat, and also very, how I imagine Russia, very like mechanically, compartmentally designed. And that's actually the truth of the situation with Brasilia. Brasilia was not a city until 1960, when the government decided to take the capital of Brazil, which was Rio de Janeiro, and move it randomly to the center of the country in Brasilia, because they thought it would like help sort of the government interaction with the other provinces and everything like that. So just artificially put the city there. It was designed by Oscar Niemeyer. He was like a big architect, and apparently he designed it like an airplane, but it's like super like grid-like structures. It has nothing to do with the Latin American like curvy streets or the way a city would organically grow from a village to a city. It's like literally laid out just the way it was in some man's mind, like this is how our city's going to be. So it's really, really, really strange. Modern art at the time in like 1962, so a very weird aesthetic to it. Anyway, so first day just kind of wandering around, get back to the hotel. Next day decided to kind of work south. So, but first of all I went to like this crazy church, which inside has all these purple lights. It was like super awesome. I got a video of that. And then heading downtown to sort of the more government building area. There was like a museum I went to on the way, or an arts gallery, I guess you could say. Some very interesting architecture. Then downtown at the government buildings. By that point, it had started to rain, and like it was like cold, man. Like I mean, Brasilia is only like maybe 3,900 feet, and at that latitude, you think it wouldn't be cold, but like my nails were like turning blue. Like I was like, this is cold, man. It was like raining and just like terrible weather. But anyway, so some interesting architecture to see, and I started walking back. And so then there was that day. I was just like, whoa, it's too bad I have to be here for 3 days, because I could be somewhere like warm and sunny. But whatever, it was an interesting place. Third day, waiting for the car, went out and did some laundry, which I hadn't done in like, I don't know, like over a month or whatever, right? And took the subway to do that, and headed back to the hotel. And then at night, headed out to meet this woman, like sort of on the outskirts of this city, in kind of like a gated community, like this apartment complex that I had to like talk to a security guard to get into. And yeah, she was awesome. Like, yeah, she was like the greatest woman ever. Like, I was just like, wow. Like, not I love you, but like, yeah, it was just like that. She was, I don't know, she was awesome, super cool person. And like, I would have had to take the bus back because the trains had stopped running. But she was like, nah, I'll just drive you back. So she drove me back to the hotel. And that was like super cool. Anyway, she's great. That girl was like restored my faith in women. Although like not my faith, but yeah, like I was like, this woman is awesome. And so then the next day I had to head to Anapolis, and I was able to pick up my car late in the day from the car shop. And I drove to Anapolis, which is only like 2 hours away, but it was good because it was late in the day, it was getting dark, wasn't the best weather. And like there, of course, there was an accident on the road, but the one fortunate thing was Brasilia is in like the federal district, so a lot of money goes into the roads in that area, and the federal district's inside of Goiás. Anapolis is in Goiás, but it's still linked to that range where they really take good care of the roads. So I got to Anapolis okay at night, checked in the hotel, small little city, kind of wandered around, of course like a church as usual, and like some interesting art sort of in the street as well. And I went to like a mall to try to exchange some money. And like I say, even small towns have malls in Brazil. It's not really that South America, Argentinian vibe, where it'd be more marketplace or something like that, or individual shops. In Brazil, they have a more sort of like North American model to some degree in their structure. So that was the end of sort of heading to Brasilia, and at that point then my next video is really me going into the wild west of Brazil as I move towards Peru.